right, so we are live. Thank you so much for joining us on your Feel Good Breakfast show. Now, when we attend the milestone wedding anniversaries of our parents, our aunts, uncles, and even grandparents, some of us wonder whether we'll ever find that everlasting love for our own. Now, what is the key to everlasting love? That's the question we're asking today to our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, who's here to explore this with us. But first, let's hear from our Expresso couples on whether they think that ideal of living happily ever after is realistic.
Hi, my name is Cameron.
Hi, my name is Quaid, and we've been together for 3 years.
I'm Alexa.
And I'm Miles.
And we've known each other for about 6 years, and we've been dating for nearly 2.
Is the living happily ever after ideal realistic?
Because that phrase makes me think of fairy tales and Disney princesses and Prince Charmings. It leaves a kind of taste in my mouth because it just doesn't take real life into account. I mean, there's lots of reasons why people break up. Sometimes it is just for the best thing. I think sometimes people come into your life for particular periods of time in which you need them, and then after that another person might be a better fit for a different period of your life, and it's not like, oh, you broke the happily ever after thing.
Happily ever after makes it sound too simplistic, where it sort of implies that it doesn't require work, you're just going to be happy and airy-plairy. But it's like it does require work, and you can live happily ever after if you work towards it and not just take things for granted. There's going to come like a time of strife in a relationship, and you live happily ever after if you work through it and you go through the bad time.
There definitely is a set of unrealistic expectations that a lot of us get raised with. And that's really sad because I think that what happily ever after means can differ for different people. And that sometimes being happy with someone, especially when you're older, like if you're really old, that doesn't necessarily, mean everything is glamorous and fantastic. It can mean you've gone through a lot of hardships, and maybe there isn't even romantic attraction anymore. Maybe you're just really good companions. And at that age, do you really need anything more?
Oh, there we go. Hashtag relationship goals. Now, the question is, have you been looking for that everlasting love? Or have you perhaps even found it? You know the secret to getting it. Well, give us a call on 083-9133-728. We would love to hear from you, hear your questions and your comments. So, Dr. Eve, so why do people see long-term marriage as that marker of everlasting or success in love?
I think it's a wonderful ideal to have, Kat, that you find your one and only and your special soul. And you're going to kind of exhale because you've done the work and you don't have to go through the whole process of looking now for somebody else, and you can just relax into your life and you're going to just be happy forever and ever. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. So I have a grandchild who's about to turn 4, and I will not read her any fairy tale. No, will not read her any fairy tale that's going to end in, and they lived happily ever after.
Not even Humpty Dumpty.
He fell off. Actually, he repaired himself afterwards. That's true. No, we do Humpty Dumpty. So it's a myth, and it's quite a dangerous myth to live by, that you're going to be happily ever after, because actually you can't relax into a relationship. You cannot just take for granted that once you've got this ring and once you have this situation called marriage, that means things will just take care of themselves. And I think, that's the essence really of let's destroy this myth of it, that you have, if you want to be happily ever after, you actually have to invest a huge amount of work into being that. Yeah. And also an expectation that it may not end happily ever after, that in fact it may end happily when you decide we're done, and that may be 7 years into it, 1 year into it, or 70 years into it. Yeah. But we shouldn't feel devastated when it doesn't go happily ever after. Yeah.
Now, I wonder if there are some people out there that might agree or differ with you, Dr. Eve. And if you are one of those people, give us a call on 083-9133-728. We're talking about finding that everlasting love. And so when it comes to then finding this long-term partner, what are the things to look out for to ensure that at least, if it's not going to end happily ever after, it lasts for as long as possible?
Well, as long as the two people are happy, right?
Yes,
as long as two people... And I like you say as long as possible, because ending relationships are incredibly traumatic. Yeah. And so people want to be able to be as happy as they can for as long as they can. I want to just correct one of the couples. Take umbrance with one of the couples who said, when you get older and you live happily ever after because you don't really need anything more than companionship. I have to disagree with that.
Yeah?
Because, in fact, older people are not desexualized. And one of the things that make us live happily ever after is having some kind of sexual intimate connection as we get older as well.
Absolutely.
So when you say, what are the things that we look for? We want to look for somebody who's got attraction, who we feel chemically attracted to. And even though that chemical attraction isn't going to last at the same level for 60 or 70 or 40 or even 5 years, you still want to make sure that you have that as a foundation in going forward into your relationship. So things that you want to look for is people, and because we talk about this often, people have the same values as what you do. You start out in life with the same kind of value system around, I really believe in health, I really believe in justice, I really believe in social consciousness, or in having career as a secondary component to family, whatever your values are. And then as you go through your life, your values change, obviously, and that you can keep talking about these changed values. Starting off that way is a good way to have long-lasting love.
We're going to latch on to that conversation a little bit later on. Now, the question is, are you wondering how to maintain that everlasting love? Or have you perhaps found the key for it yourself? Then please call us on 083-913-3728 to ask your questions or give your comments to Dr. Eve. Now, one thing I've always believed when it comes to love is that couples that cook together stay together. So let's all celebrate the love of National Melktert Dag. Lekker.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Oh, you know what's also sweet? Everlasting love. That's what we're talking about with Dr. Eve this morning, our relationship expert, and we want you to give us a call on 083-913-3728. Before we continue our conversation, we asked our Expresso couples to tell us what is the key to everlasting love.
What is the key to everlasting love?
I think laughter is important, communication is important, all kind of those basic things, openness, honesty.
Compromise, definitely important.
Keeping it exciting, I think, and definitely consciously putting an effort into things.
I think people need to feel safe in the long run. I think so many people, it's actually really scary, seeing how many, older couples, I've seen and so on, that there isn't really a good sort of respectful power balance there, and it's often not even intentional. It's just how people were raised, and a lot of people feel like they have to be silenced in a relationship, and that they have to pretend to like things that their partner likes. They have to overcompromise at their own expense.
Yeah.
And that's really sad, because then they don't get to live the kind of full life that they deserve to live.
Again, listen to your partner. What are their likes? What are they into at the time? And just feed into that,
Yeah.
So I think compromise is super important, and creating a safe environment for your partner to communicate in.
Yo, flames in the eyes of Dr. Eve when she heard that word compromise. She was like, bruh, please. Anyway, our lines are open and we're asking the question to the key or the secret to everlasting love. And Michelle seems to have found it. She's calling us all the way from Centurion. Michelle, good morning. What's your story?
Hi, good morning. I'm 38. My husband's 37. We've been together since we were 21. And, it's not easy. And I don't agree that it's compromise. I believe it's collaboration. It's taking the best parts of both of you and creating something brand new and something that's even better. We've got our first baby due this year in May. A couple of years ago, we went through a rough patch. And the difference was we didn't give up, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And when we went through the rough patch, we sat down, we looked at each other, and we went, right, we got married because we love each other.
Yeah.
Are we prepared to put the work in? Yes, we are. Let's do this. And I have the best husband in the world. It's not always easy. But we married 15 years this coming December. We've been together almost 17 years, and the hard work is well worth it, as long as you're both prepared to work towards the same goal.
Michelle, you are all the feels, all the goals right now. Wow, it's not compromise, it's collaboration.
I like that word a lot.
Tweet that.
Yeah, I like that
And
a
it
lot.
works.
Yeah, great. So what a couple has to do is say, okay, this is what's really valuable to me. Then you begin to say, okay, because it's not that valuable to me, I'm going to come along and do it your way.
Yeah.
So because I'm going to use a simple example of saying time. I know that you really value that I'm on time all the time. For me, it's not such a big deal, but because of that, I'm going to make sure that, because I know it's so valuable to you, I'm going to really push myself to please you in the areas that you really value. It's not important to me, but it is to you. Therefore, I'm really going to make an effort to please you, recognizing that, there isn't the same values. So it's not I'm compromising, I'm surrendering to you. It's like I recognize, I respect you, because that's what it's all about, is having, a huge amount of respect for the difference between the other person. Then you have a chance of having some kind of long-lasting relationship where there is respectfulness, where there is honesty, where there's one of the couples said ability to communicate. I mean, that's the most difficult thing to do of all, Kat, is to really be honest with the partner and to be saying, I'm not liking what you're doing, or I'm really liking what you're doing, or I'm feeling bored, or I'm really feeling as if I'm being neglected. I'm feeling neglected,
All right. We've got Gertrude on the line right now, joining us from Etembisa. Good morning, Gertrude.
Morning, how are you?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for the call. What is your question or your comment?
My question is, first, I'd like to know if does it, like, everlasting relationship, does it exist? Because I've tried compromising, I've tried loving, I've tried understanding my partner, but it doesn't work. But since I grew up, I knew that with everlasting love, you have to respect, love, and compromise, but it doesn't work for me.
Gertrude, what is your partner doing that is really irritating for you and for you finding that you cannot compromise around?
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Like on Valentine's Day, I bought him a bunch of flowers and a wallet, and he just came in and said thank you. So I didn't know what to say, whether to say, well, I wasn't happy at all, so I was a bit disappointed. I always organize trip to go out with my money, and he doesn't even care if whether we go or we don't go. So it's a bit, I don't know.
So, lack of reciprocation, if you will.
Lack of reciprocation, different value system where you really value gift giving and you really value being very involved and contributing towards the relationship, and you're feeling like he isn't mutually giving to you anything that makes your heart feel warm. So, you want to be able to talk to him, as Kat was saying earlier, the communication thing, telling your partner, this isn't pleasing me, this is really what I want, and then seeing if your partner is able to be respectful, able to value those things as well.
Yeah.
Because this isn't going to be long-lasting. You're not going to be able to sustain it where you feel you're the only one who's giving and giving, and there's no reciprocation.
We're going to take a break, and Gertrude, I hope that you keep on watching, because when we come back, I want to ask Dr. Eve about the saying that says we live in an age where when something is broken, we throw it away, that we don't fix it anymore. But is that actually still relevant? We'll come back with Dr. Eve talking relationship goals after the break.
Only you can make my day. It's my feel-good breakfast show.
And we're back again live with your Feel Good Breakfast show on this Monday morning. We want to give a big thank you to Mrs. Hartman, Alipad from Pretoria, and Cornell from Joburg, who shared their stories about everlasting love and the secret to it. Now, of course, our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, is here this morning, addressing this hot topic and breaking it down for us. It's all about everlasting love. But before we continue, let's hear from our Expresso couples what they think about everlasting love. Is it for everyone?
Is everlasting love for everyone?
I definitely don't think so. Because the idea of everlasting love sounds a bit scary and like a bit crazy, like you're gonna like love this person into the grave, and afterlife. That's pretty bizarre. But I do think people should try it.
No, not really. I think that whole everlasting love thing, it feeds into that Disney happily ever after stereotype that that everybody's ideal is to be with one perfect person for the rest of their life, and it's usually completely unrealistic, actually, and again sets people up for these high expectations that usually just realistically just doesn't work out that way.
Everybody wants love. Everybody wants to feel love. So it's possible for everyone as long as you put in the work, I think. Not taking your love for granted. Yeah, I think it is possible for everyone to attain it. Just work.
Just work.
Put in work.
Yeah.
feeling when you hear the word everlasting love? It's both fantastic and it's such a burden on your shoulders as well because of the expectation that comes with it. Dr. Eve and I were talking about right now. Let's take a call. Marlene is on the line. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning, Kat. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your call. What's your question or your comment?
Okay, my question actually is, it's not a question, it's just on fairy tales. Kids mustn't believe in fairy tales. Happily living ever after. That must be.
It
You can't
must
take
be.
that away from a child.
Wow, thank you, Marlene, for addressing that because I was even
take
asking.
that away from a child.
I agree with you, Marlene. Beauty and the Beast was
You
amazing.
can't.
Cinderella was amazing.
Yeah,
but Dr.
the
Eve,
Seven
why?
Dwarfs.
Okay, so maybe Dr. Eve can explain to us why it is that you say we should take that away from children, that belief in the happily ever after.
Well, you just heard one of the couples say, because it sets you up for expectations, which are just not realistic.
Yeah.
So I rather talk about realistic love. And part of the realistic love, Kat, very, very much, is that you do love somebody forever. It doesn't mean that you actively have to be living with this person forever. One of the most traumatic things for people is feeling like I'm done with this relationship, or it feels too hard, feels too painful to continue to be here, but I don't want to leave the relationship and completely break and terminate it, because it sounds like, you know, you're killing off, or it's like a disease that you've got and you want, and that feels way too traumatic for any one person. It's an acceptance. I will always love this person, but in a different kind of way. And I think if people can accept that it is an everlasting love that I'm going to have for this person, but I no longer want to be living a life with this person.
Yeah.
It may feel less traumatic and easier for people to then leave that particular relationship, holding the love, shifting it into a different place and moving away from it, from living it, because it feels too difficult and too painful.
And perhaps also just that expectation that once you've failed in love and you have to break it to the outside world, the embarrassment is way too much to deal with. Dr. Eve, it's been wonderful chatting to you, but I want to know this though. You know how they say when you get to a particular age, some people do feel like, oh, I'm too old and I can't find love now. What do you have to say to people who are, let's say, past a certain age, past 30, 40, who are not in a stable long-term relationship? What would you say to them?
I think it's completely acceptable, and the world is really moving into a place where singlehood is way more accepted. And people, and you know this because we talk a lot about it on the show, find different forms of relationship, where it may not be the traditional getting married and living together forever and ever. People find different structures in which they get their needs met, mainly intimate needs, emotional needs, companionate needs, but doesn't have to be the formalized marriage. And I really encourage people to think about different structures so that they feel happy. At the end of the day, we want to feel happy. And also, if you're in a relationship which feels difficult, spend time in it, do the work, go into therapy, do the work around it, and then when it feels it no longer is viable to stay there, have the courage to leave, to go through the difficulty of disengaging.
They do say hard work brings true joy. Before we go, Dr. Eve, what's your favorite love song?
That is hysterical. I only have wrist-cutting love songs. I love Adele's love songs.
Oh my God.
I love Adele's love songs.
I was
think
trying
they're
to find the
heart-wrenching.
inner romantic and you hit me with the Adele depression. Oh
The
my
Adele
word.
depression.
Dr.
And then
Eve.
all opera songs. My favorite opera songs are heart-wrenching.
There we go. If you want to date Dr. Eve, that's exactly what you play for her. Thank you so much. So whether you are in a brand new relationship or you found love that has stood the test of time, it is important to prioritize your relationship to ensure that the both of you give the best chance to everlasting love and bring the best out of each other. Thank you very much, Dr. Eve. Thank you very much to you. Right back to the kitchen.